one by one, battling alongside their many-colored brethren. The establishment
Hey guys, I'm pretty bored. You wanna go do something else? Like maybe something fun?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever.
And a new society
Whoa, what was that? Quick, let's get out of here right away! Or you go that way, and I'll go this way. Okay, got it.
Oh my god!
That was scary! Huh? Whoa. That was close. Huh?
It's a marshmallow world in the winter when the snow comes to cover the ground. It's time for play. It's a whipped cream day. I wait for it to hold you round. Those are marshmallow clouds being friendly in the arms of the evergreen trees. And the sun is red like a pumpkin head. It's shining so your nose won't freeze. Oh, the world is your snowball. See how it goes. That's how it goes. Whenever it snows, the world is your snowball just for a song. Get out and roll it along. Oh, it's a yummy, yummy world made for sweethearts. Take a walk with your favorite girl. It's a sugar date. What if spring is late? In winter, it's a marshmallow world.
Oh. Oh, Canada.
Alright guys, I gotta be real with you. This election has reached uber parody levels of itself. I woke up this morning, I had a bunch of things to do, and I did a terrible thing, which is check the news. And all over the news media, there is this Donald Trump Jr. Skittles comment. Let me be upfront. I despise Donald Trump. I think he's a buffoon, and he wants to be a dictator. I also despise Hillary Clinton. I think she's probably the most corrupt woman in the country, perhaps the world, perhaps of all time. I am a libertarian, which means I always disagree with people on the left and the right, but I gotta say something about this. So, Donald Trump Jr., who apparently is Donald Trump's son, shared an image on the internet. The image was a bowl of Skittles candy, and it said, "If I had a bowl of Skittles and I told you that just 3 would kill you, would you take a handful?" That's our Syrian refugee problem. Now, the left has taken this as further evidence of the incredible moral degradation of anybody with the last name of Trump and all those deplorable Trump supporters. They've said things like, "Oh, Donald Trump Jr. thinks that Syrian refugees are like candy." Now, I don't want to defend Donald Trump's immigration platform. However, I can sympathize with what is a consistent pattern coming from leftists, which is overwhelmingly clear. They do not understand how analogies work. Now, though Donald Trump might be a moral savage, let's just say he did not reveal it by this statement. Donald Trump Jr. is making what's called an analogy, and I can sympathize, because a lot of times when talking about political theory, especially with leftists, they don't seem to grasp the nuance of what analogy is and what it does. So, for the sake of philosophy, let me explain. An analogy is something that identifies some particular pattern in some phenomena and takes that pattern, extracts it from the concrete into the abstract, and then applies the same pattern to some other phenomena. So an analogy I like to give all the time, I say life is like a chess game. There's lots of reasons why life is like a chess game. But I assure you, when I say life is like a chess game, I'm not saying what that means is, in reality, all of the horses move in L shapes. That would be an embarrassing misunderstanding of the analogy. What I might actually mean is that two people in life might have different goals. They might have competing goals. I want to go here, they want to go there, and we're acting in different ways, which can sometimes frustrate the plans of the other person. So we have to come up with different tactical maneuvers to try to accomplish what we want to accomplish in the world. In that way, life is like a chess game. And to rescue the analogy that Donald Trump Jr. gave, the reason that the Syrian refugee crisis is like a bowl full of Skittles with a few poison Skittles is not because some humans are like candy. What he's trying to say, which actually might be a reasonable point, is that there could be lots of good in a particular group of things, lots of yummy, tasty good. However, inside of that group of things, you might have a few sour apples. You might have a few cyanide-laden Skittles. You might have a few dangerous people that if you just indiscriminately take a handful of that grouping of things, you might find yourself poisoned, or you might find yourself killed. The analogy is immigrants might be 99% great. However, that 1% of immigrants, maybe there's going to be murderers in there. And if we just indiscriminately allow everybody into the country, we're also going to allow those murderers, those dangerous Skittles, and people will die as a result. Now, you may or may not agree with that, but it's actually a pretty good analogy. And in fact, it pays a compliment to the rest of the non-toxic Skittles in the Skittles bowl. Meaning, let's just say that most immigrants are good. It still does not rule out the fact that some of them are bad, and if you don't pick and choose, you're probably going to end up taking a nasty Skittle. Now, I used to think what was going on with the left's attacking analogies like this wasn't actually a confusion about how analogies work, it's just dirty politics. It's just, oh, he said something that I can take out of context and say he's a bad person. I get it all the time being a libertarian. However, I'm starting to think it's not actually just politics. I think it's actually a genuine confusion about analogy. For example, Skittles released a comment this morning saying, "Thanks for reaching out. Here's our response. Skittles are candy. Refugees are people. We don't feel it's an appropriate analogy." Now that such a statement needs to be said makes me think it is actually a misunderstanding of how analogies work. Going on Twitter, another terrible idea, makes me think that's what's going on. There is a trending term on Twitter called #SkittlesWelcome. And it's a bunch of leftists who are condemning the idiocy and misogyny and sexism and xenophobia of the Donald Trump campaign because he's compared human beings to candy. For example, this lady says, if you don't teach kids compassion and empathy to be sensitive to others' feelings, they grow up to be like this moron. And she shares the Donald Trump Jr. quote. Or this response, saying, this is a thoughtful and humane response to hateful stupidity, referencing Skittles' statement that their organization believes that refugees are people and Skittles are candy. Or scrolling down this one that says, thank you, Donald Trump Jr., for reminding us how little regard you have for humanity. Like father, like son. I can't genuinely tell what is giving these people the benefit of the doubt. Is it to think that they're just playing politics and just this cheap virtue signaling and trying to call other people that disagree with them bad people? Or is it Genuinely, they do not understand how analogies work. I know from my own experience when talking about politics. It's really dicey to use analogy because somehow people will think if you're equating two things in some way, you're equating them in all ways. And if I may stand on my soapbox for about 15 seconds, this is the reason I think that the Trump phenomena is taking place. I think it's a disaster. I think it's terrible. However, it is a response to the insane, shrill, leftist insanity that is starting to peak in our culture, where you're not allowed to use analogies because people might take them, misinterpret them in the stupidest way possible, and then conclude, oh, you're a bad person. That is infuriating, and I think it's why Trump has so much momentum, unfortunately. If you'd like to hear about my own political philosophy, which is against Trump and it's against Hillary, it's called libertarianism, subscribe to this channel. I talk about the topic all the time. I've got a bunch of videos up explaining what libertarianism is and why you don't actually need to be a Trumpist or a Hillaryist. There is a much more sensible alternative.